Hello and welcome to Steve's Mixtapes. This week's mix is a bit of a departure. We've had a couple of my own mixes and a load of great guests that I've done via face-to-face interviews, but this one was a mystery mix submitted via email, and it comes from Fall Online Forum contributor Hector, who wrote this. Hello Steve, I enjoyed compiling this. Please consider it for use on one of your mixtape podcasts. In the interest of national security, please don't reveal my secret identity to everyone. Best wishes, Hector. Now, Hector is, I think it's fair to say, one of the more eccentric members of the forum. He's seemingly obsessed with women wearing capes, whelks and Slade. And in his email, he goes on to say this. Capes Hector, retired crime fighter. Used to make a lot of mixtapes in my younger days. Realised that most people would thank me profusely for the tape and then chuck it behind the sofa as soon as they got home. I'd like to dedicate this to all my good friends on the Fall Online forum and also to Hiccup Percy. Now, Hiccup Percy is another member of the Fall Online forum, obviously. Not sure that's a dig at him or not. But anyway, here is Hector's Hit the Ground Running track. That was Abwärts with a song called Eine Gartenhaus from an album called Der Westen ist einsam, released in 1982. The title, I think, means The West is Lonely. And Abwärts were a German post-punk band from Hamburg, and a Gartenhaus is a garden house or a shed, possibly. Hector has this to say about it. First heard on John Peel. I don't speak German and have no clues what horrors occurred in that particular garden house. I enjoy uptight music very much, but the next couple of tracks are more relaxing to prevent listener distress. Well, your mileage may vary as to how relaxing you find his Something Old track, given the amount of yodeling it involves.
Way out in Arizona, in a town they call Winona, where the folks you meet all know a thing or two, lived a lad of great ambition, who had set as his life's mission to excel upon his own day. And he'd play a little tune on his Spanish guitar. He'd mingle with the song the sweet refrain. In the evening in the cactus, he would get a lot of practice on his as his cattle he was trailing, you would always hear him wailing on his Once a big shot from the city heard him warbling the ditty, and a company was Then he said, "Look here, my sonny, you can make a lot of money with the And he'd play a little tune on his Spanish guitar. He'd mingle with the song the sweet refrain. Then our hero took the tip and packed his grip and took a trip and soon was singing o'er the radio to you. If the Swiss heard what he's earning, green with envy they'd be turning when he Soon he met a little maiden who with talent who was laden, and she fell for him like flowers for the dew. And he wished not to evade her, and he used to serenade her with his And he'd play a little tune on his Spanish guitar. He'd mingle with the song the sweet refrain.
That was Arizona Yodeler by the Zurich Sisters, the Something Old choice of Caped Hector. The Zurich Sisters were also known as the Cackle Sisters, and that song was released in 1939. They only ever recorded 6 songs. That one was a B-side to I Left Her Standing There with a Doodad in Her Hair. They were born and raised on a farm in Royalton, Minnesota. Their father Joe played fiddle, their sisters sang, and their brother Jerry played accordion and guitar. Inspired by their family and the sounds of the animals and birds around them, this is what it says on Wikipedia, they developed an astonishing repertoire of high haunting yodels and yips that soon had them winning talent contests all over central Minnesota. So there you go. For something new, Hector has quite frankly cheated outrageously. However, I am going to overlook his flagrant breaking of the rules because A, I admire his cheek, and B, I love the track he's chosen. He says, "This is my go-to track when I'm in a strange hotel room and need some reassuring YouTube good vibes. It was a clever idea to get everyone to choose their favourite Noi track." That was Hallo Gallo by Noi from their self-titled 1972 album. Not all of it, unfortunately, couldn't quite fit it all on, but I'll put a link on stevesmixtapes.com to the full track if you want to listen to it. It is excellent. Hector's Something Borrowed choice features an artist making his second appearance on Steve's Mixtapes, Martin Brahma having picked a track by him as well on episode 7. This is Link Ray with the Batman theme.
Look, Bruce! It's the bat signal!
Yes, are you ready, Robin?
Yes, Batman! Batman, shall I start the nuclear power for the Batmobile?
Right again, Robin.
Okay, Batman.
Hector says this: first heard on a mixtape in the early 80s given to me by my friend Bob. Iggy, I presume he means Iggy Pop, said on Six Music that he loves this so much, specifically the Link Ray version, that he performed it live on stage 8 times in succession. He admitted that non-prescription substances might also have been a contributing factor. He then goes on to say, after I had borrowed all the Goon Show, Tom Lehrer and Monty Python records from my local library, I randomly borrowed a Memphis Jug Band LP, and my life was transformed and enhanced forever. Everything by them is well worth a listen. Just rush out and buy the box set tomorrow. They are an absolute delight. So let's see if you agree with him. This is the Memphis Jug Band.
have a fit on that fiddle. What's
Let's
that?
go down and
Go ahead,
play
sit loud. Yalla!
The Memphis Jug Band with Memphis Shakedown that was originally released in 1935. It was a B-side to a single called Mary Anna Cut Off, apparently. And if you're not familiar with the jug, it's a musical instrument that is just basically an empty jug, usually made of glass or stoneware, played with buzz lips to produce a trombone-like tone. Again, that's what Wikipedia says it is. Now we've reached the point in the mix where we take it down and enjoy a quieter moment, and Hector has decided that this time we're going to ask a Finnish composer to fulfill this criteria, and his name is, let me get this right, Eino Juhani Rahutavaara. I think that's right. Hector says, first heard on the Mixing It show in Radio 3, it's always good to include a bit of classical so people know you're not riffraff. So that was Hector's Take It Down choice. It was Melancholy from Cantus Arcticus by Eino Juhani Rahutavaara, if I've got that right, that was recorded in 1972. It was subtitled Concerto for Birds and Orchestra, and it incorporates tape recordings of bird songs recorded near the Arctic Circle. The second movement, which we just heard, Melancholy, features a slowed down recording of the song of the shorelark. So there you go. For the Around the World selection, we visited quite a lot of places in the first few Steve's Mixtapes podcasts, including Cambodia, Japan, New Zealand and Brazil. Hector is taking us to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or Zaire, as it was in 1973 when this was released. It's by Mando Negro Koala Kwa, an African Latin big band who also went by the name Orchestra Mando Negro and other similar variations. Hector's description is this: a love song. I like a lot of the 70s Congolese jungly guitar music, but this is extra special. I think the vocals are more charming and thoughtful than on a lot of African guitar records. Not that I understand the words, of course. First heard this on Andy Kershaw.
Nayebi olingi kolata, nayebi olingi lokumu, nayebi Hector. Kuseno kinaka kufa masamba nayebi olingi kolata nayebi olingi lokumu nayebi olingi mosolo masamba 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 oh, masamba masamba oh, nalebi masamba masamba oh, masamba masamba oh, masamba oh, masamba masamba oh, nalebi masamba masamba oh, nalebi masamba masamba oh, masamba masamba oh, nalebi masamba masamba oh. Moi pas connais danser. Moi pas connais danser. Moi pas connais danser. Et mi belle, absolument pas vraiment. Ma belle, je vous la danser. Je vous la danse. Je vous la danse. Je vous la danse. Master, à la guitare. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boca.
A 1973 single called Masamba MJ by Mando Negro Kwala Kwa. And Hector also goes on to point out that 5 of his 10 tracks are non-UK US. Fair enough. Surprisingly, we haven't actually had a track by The Fall on Steve's mixtape as yet, although that's going to be addressed both by a couple of guest mixes I've got coming up and also by a mix that I'm going to do myself, but more news on that later. So Hector is going to be the first guest mixer to delve into the back catalogue of the Mighty Fall, and for his left of centre choice, he's gone from something from their second album, Dragnet, and he says this about it. Back to the properly uptight stuff, strange that something so scary and genuinely experimental should be so exhilarating to the listener.
The rector lived in Hampshire. The spectre was from Sharazina. It even dust in the air. The rector locked his doors. Stop 2. Detective drives through Hampshire. Stops because of the thunder. And thinks a visit to the rector. And meanwhile, Spectre possesses his rector. A rector becomes Spectre. A sludge, hey choy, son. A sludge, hey choy, son. Enter in Spectre. Even as he spoke, the dust devil suddenly arose and struck him. Detective versus rector. Detective versus rector possessed by Spectre. Spectre blows him against the wall. Says direct, this is your fall. I'm waiting to Caesar for this. A damn Latin, my hate is crisp. I'll rip your fat body to pieces. James, live on. Sucker, break, live, run. And do it up, come on. C5 comes a hero. The soul possessed 1,000 times. Only he could rescue Rector. Only he could save Inspector. But this hero was a strange man. Those flowers took them away, he said. They're only beautiful decoration. And oh, this is a drudge nation. A nation of no imagination. The stupid man is an ideal. They should be and think me unclean. Unclean. So
featuring references to two of Marky Smith's favourite writers, H.P. Lovecraft and M.R. James. That was Spectre vs. Rector from 1979's Dragnet. In my book, you must get them all, and of course there's a link on the stevesmixtapes.com webpage. I commented that this song's relentless, aggressive ugliness is astonishing, and that of course is what makes it so lovable. As I'm sure you're aware by this point, I give the guest mixers 9 categories that they have to adhere to, but they are allowed one wildcard choice, and this is Hector's, which he describes as an uncategorizable piece of strangeness.
the high
That was Rose by the Del Bloods, released in 1991, a B-side to a single called Black Rabbit. I did find it quite hard to find out much about the Del Bloods, other than they were a Liverpool band formed by Bob Parker and Tony Mogan of the Walking Seeds, and as far as I can tell, this single was their only release. As Hector notes, it concludes with a sample of Soldier Boy by Buffy Sainte-Marie, and I'll put a link to that on the page for this mix at stevesmixtapes.com. Now, before we get to Hector's finale track, he did make some other selections, apparently on the impression that he was appearing on Desert Island Discs. On the island, he says, he would keep himself alive by eating mostly whelks and other gastropubs. His book would be William and the Space Animal by Richmel Crompton, and his luxury object would be Lady with an Ermine by Leonardo da Vinci. I'll put links to all that stuff on the webpage. And so anyway, to Hector's finale song, he says this about it. Just perfect, exhilarating. This is my favourite track from the 2 CD collection that came out a while back. First heard the band on John Peel, and as you can see, he was a huge influence on my listening over the years. This is Swiss women doing their own joyous version of punk, and in my entire life, I have sent fan letters to Noddy Holder, Marky Smith, and this band, Lilliput. That was Split by Lilliput, a 1980 single. They were a Swiss punk band formed in Zurich in 1978, initially called Kleenex, until the company forced them to change their name because of legal action. John Peel was a big fan and actually he played them loads of times. I'll put a link to the Peel wiki that shows you just how many times he played them. And just to finish off, Hector goes on to say, there is no music on my tape from the 21st century. With one or two exceptions, all modern music displeases me. Leave me alone with my own Joni Mitchell records. Well, can't say fairer than that. So thanks to Caped Hector for sending in his somewhat unusual and interesting mix. Next week, I have a very special guest mixer. It's someone who has written for Harry Hill's TV Burp, On the Hour, The Day Today, Mitchell and Webb, Smack the Pony. He's even won an Emmy for his script writing. So quite recently, I had a chat with David Quantick, and he is going to be my guest next week. So you can look forward to that. So hope you're all well. Thanks and goodbye.